MLG Frederick is back at the job, up in the chopper, and we are live from Dallas, Texas, here at the Dallas Convention Center, the place where the MLG Fall Championship is going to be taking place starting tomorrow, but of course on the eve of what will be a fantastic event. We've got the MVP Invitational Finals. We're now sitting 3-1. We thought that it might be Sue all the way, but Oz just brings it back in Game 4.
I truly thought that before this series began, Oz was going to be the one controlling the pace, and I'm sure all of you have seen series where you see that there's one player who's the vicious one, the aggressor, who has the crazy builds, and he might not come out on top, but at the very least he defines how the matchup goes, and that almost always is Oz. But Sue flipping things around, saying, yeah, I want you to try to throw more things at me. I'm too resilient. My defense is too good, and has swatted it aside 3 games in a row, only able to barely do it in Game 4, and now here on Game 5 on Entombed Valley, it really feels like an uphill battle for Oz.
Well, he's, got to win at least 2 more to tie it up, make it a quote-unquote best of 1. He needs 3 to win it all, and Sue could take it right here.
Oh, yes, in the top left corner, building no drones, having cojones of brass. It is SK Telecom's 6 pooling Sue.
And we'll talk about that in just a moment. Let's introduce our player here in the southeast position as the red Protoss. Give it up for Fnatic Oz. Now, you mentioned that this was absolutely a possibility when Sue was up 3 games. But as long as Sue has that advantage, it will always be a possibility. Pylon went down inside the main base. Scouting probe still going out. And this is indeed a 6 pool coming out here by Sue.
6 pooling on this map is quite common, just due to the fact that this entrance is what the Protoss has to wall off. It's hard to get enough money to make the buildings you need to wall that off. So I think Oz is wise to consider doing a pylon in the main. Well, you know, Oz has put up a really good fight with a pylon in the main in several games, but still to see him do it yet again here. Oh, wait, is he going to be... Oh, I think he's going pylon in main, followed by Nexus first.
Oh my gosh. Oh my, it's, he's gonna come over here. He's gonna go inside. Zergling's gonna hatch. Hello, surprise. And, oh goodness.
How will he play this off? It looks like he's just gonna go Forge, Gateway, chill.
Yep. And we do have that probe still out. Only one of the Zerglings is going to stay on top of that probe. The other 5 going to make their way over. And probe also hides himself just outside of there. But it's still going to be a ways. Those Zerglings are definitely going to get there. I mean, he's going to have to block. And then that pylon.
Wow. Ooh. I mean, there's already 4 probes that have headed out into mid-map. And he's, oh gosh, going to give me a heart attack by delaying that pylon as long as humanly possible. And there's the photon cannon going down, but look at how fast this Forge is falling. Ooh, this is going to be bad news. Oh my god, Sue is definitely going to be breaking in here.
I agree, I think so. That pylon is going to go up and finish, but that photon cannon's only halfway done. The Forge will fall, the photon cannon will remain up, but here comes the defense from these probes. They're going to try to block and then use that cannon as much as they possibly can. And here we go. Is he just gonna go and go for it? Good defense.
A nice defense by Oz, but you got to keep in mind 6 pooling never actually puts Zerg that far behind. Sue, interestingly, has skipped the Queen entirely and gone for this hatch right away. And in fact, I think Sue might be gearing up to get a 3rd hatch. I mean, he had enough money previously to be able to construct a Queen, but didn't. Oh no, there's the Queen going down.
Queen is going down. Zergling's gonna come back. Now the first Zealot's out, and they're just going to try to get any possible, advantage that they could possibly get, as they're just continuing to move forward and take out. And he did a great job, like scouting with the Zergling and following every single probe that was sent out there for Oz. And this is one nice spot for Sue to be in, knowing that he has got his opponent completely walled into his own base.
Now this is a potential attack right here for Oz. He's going to get 3 probes and 3 Zealots and go for it. It's 3 hits to kill a Zergling with a Zealot, but if you get a probe shot in there, it's only 2 hits. So this is an excellent way to apply a big amount of pressure right off the bat. But I think that Oz might just have sent those probes out there for defense. He is constructing that cybernetics core. He has another target he needs to defend. So I think Oz just focusing on playing very, very standard.
Yeah, I mean, after that good defense, I mean, the recovery so far for both players has been quite nice. The Nexus is about halfway done now, and there we do have Speed coming out, but he's kept one drone inside of gas. And is he going to go for that third? No, he's still holding on, just droning up, and that's the name of the game right now. Forge is being remade, so we can, I guess, stack up on some defense here, but I like this sort of double wall that he's got going on here. It's a little bit different for Oz.
Meanwhile, over in Su's base, Su's doing the same structure we saw him use in the previous game. He's going for the very fast gas, getting the Zergling speed up, and given that this is still in here, this is a sign that Su wants to get the fast layer and almost certainly wants to be following it up with some kind of layer-ish play, but this is a funky little move here. We see that Oz has completely abandoned his front, has constructed a photon cannon. It's going to have to be canceled. He does manage to get the cancel off. He's going to try to micro these probes around, but is still having a tough time.
Oh, wow. I mean, look at that. 4 Zerglings doing so much damage. Nothing here to defend against this pylon going down. We have these 4 Zealots that are making their way around, and they will do some good damage inside that main. But, you know, lots being done right here. We're going to have possibly another pylon going down. No, it will stay alive. And here we go. The Zealots moving into the main.
Charges straight up the main base. Looks like he wants to try to get out of range of those queens, but this is 4 lost Zealots. Right now, Oz has taken some massive, massive damage in the series of those exchanges.
Yeah, I mean, that was rough. I mean, the best thing about it is that pylon didn't go down, so his +1 kept going, his warp gate kept going. But losing the 4 Zealots and gaining nothing, keep in mind those Zerglings killed like 4 or 5 probes even before they were munching on the other stuff. Here we have the Sentry under assault, no force field coming out. They're going to poke back in a second time, still no force field, only 1 Zergling on that Sentry. But he is not content just taking damage, and as that photon cannon finishes up, he's going to have to go for it. Now, double gas is down at the natural for Oz. But aside from this, he literally has a gateway. Here comes the Robo, and gateway number 2 is, I mean, it's at the front, but it doesn't have a whole lot of production.
Oz is cutting things pretty thin, and still looks like he's doing a little bit of over-prediction of his opponent. Getting the really fast Twilight and a fast Robo, excellent against players with Roach-based mid-games, but I don't think Su has ever intended to really build that many Roaches at all. Getting this early hatchery, and he's going to be getting this infestation pit, plus that single evolution chamber. This seems to be the theme of his play. There's the +1 at the natural expansion, getting started as well, and I'm sure in a matter of moments we'll see the infestation pit. I would be shocked to see Mutalisk go down. Yep. Relying on the power of that Infestor energy.
Yeah, you know what? As demonstrated in his other games, Infestor is definitely one of his killing tools that he uses quite well. So we've got the third, at least the rocks to the third being focused here by Oz, spending a lot of that early game on the defensive posture. There's a lot of Zerglings out now for Su, and I really do love the fact that Su just makes the most of these inexpensive, somewhat trashy units, if you will. You know, they don't survive very long, but God, they can do a ton of damage.
Those
if you
trash Zerglings.
Those Zerglings, yeah. Well, you know what? You've played those games. You're like, God, Zerglings are the best unit ever. Then you play those games. You're like, Zerglings are worthless. Like, so anyway, like every single time I see Su use them, they're to great effect all the time.
I mean, Su just maximizes the use of them. Look at this, forcing defensive force fields, canceling those pylons. Excellent job there by Su. And of course, the puked creep, another benefit of rushing for this for this layer tech. And once again, another 4th hatch in the main base. Not much deviation. This is the contingency glial reconstitution. He doesn't desperately want it. He just needs it to be able to deal with any surprise 2-base push. And it looks like Oz starting to adjust his play. Look at this. Is getting Blink, but is starting to favor a much earlier Robo Bay.
I want to also point out that we did just see, thanks to the Overseer, the Observer go down for Oz. And look at his vision. Oh, hold on. We got some Zerglings at the third. Force field's almost blocking that Protoss army out, but all he's doing is definitely denying this Nexus from going up. But again, look at the vision of Oz, and note that he literally has no idea what is going on inside that Zerg base. Here, the Zerglings forced to attack. They will do some damage. Actually, don't take out that Stalker, and mostly die. Not sure if they got any sentries or any other key units in that battle, but
I mean, Su just doesn't seem that worked up to exchange the Zerglings in that circumstance, because even though in this unit-for-unit comparison, you'd say, oh yeah, Su came out behind. Look at the delay time that's on this expansion. Normally 10 minutes is the standard third for Protoss. 13 is what's going down now. Su, no doubt, going to follow it up with that huge flood of infestors. And normally when players cut roaches, they go for a faster hive. It looks like Su not going for a faster hive, just going for way more infestors. And look at how early this fourth is.
Yeah, going, I mean, it is pretty interesting. I mean, granted, we saw him go for about a 13-30 in, I believe it was game number 1. But holding on, getting that fourth base. It is spotted by the observer. Here we have this army moving forward from Oz, the supporting pylon going down. But Su, more importantly, just saw that this is coming, repositioning these spine crawlers now. We see 12 more Zerglings in production, a few roaches, but again, Su's never really relied on those roaches, only used them as a sort of supporting cast in his army of infestors and Zerglings.
I mean, it's really interesting to note that with 4 minutes from the hive starting to when Broodlords are done, 16 to 17 tends to be that timing attack window, and we see Su literally not concerned about it. He's going all layer tech, but not the usual layer tech. Instead of the Hydra Roach Infestor mixture, we see Su going heavy Zergling, heavy Infestor, and Corruptor, and a handful of roaches.
Oh, we could have a pretty big flank here coming from the back. Here all those Zerglings are getting ready to come back. It looks like Su is going to wait until the right moment. He might lose this fourth, but he could do some serious damage. Here come those, oh, great force fields blocking off the army, completely making that flank just worthless. And all he did was lose some Zerglings there, but great insight by Oz. Good sort of thought on what may happen, and completely blocking that army was just impeccable. Great.
Oz now morphing in a lot more Zealots. This is the perfect unit to be building. It's difficult to throw down those fungal growths to deal with it properly, but I mean, Su, again, by using those infested Terrans to such efficiency, I'm almost questioning what the right unit to be making as Oz is. I think the big key for Oz is he needs to stay patient. His opponent has not yet built a hive.
Yeah.
As long as he hangs out and maxes out, he should be able to deal with this force no matter how many infestors are in there.
And look, he's pretty, I mean, Oz is spread out quite nicely. Avoid a few of those Zergling surrounds that could possibly come out. But we do see a lot more roaches than I think we've seen in the past. They were going to go for another attempt on the fourth. But Oz controlling the middle of the map. You know, right now, you could tell Su wants that vision badly. But it's just being denied beautifully by Oz.
And now we see it looks like 10 more Corruptors being produced. There's going to be 10 total popping out, and an extremely late layer for Su, or late hive for Su. Trying to find some angle to pop out, but Oz looks like he's found his stride. Marcus, he's going to be just storming this fourth expansion from the right flank.
He's also got some great pylons set up. We see Su going back and forth trying to eliminate those, but Oz is spread out quite nicely himself, and he's just got to make sure he's not caught off guard. You can see Su inching more and more forward. Is he ready to commit to an attack? A lot of Corruptors out, full energy on a lot of these guys, and here we go.
Oh, all the infested Terrans get flung out. We see the Corruptors making short work of the Colossus up at the north side. The infested Terrans taking an incredible amount of damage, dealing huge damage as well, and oh my god, is Su gonna crush the middle again? No, the force was much too large for Oz. We see the burrowed infestors run away, and the Corruptors don't have any more Colossus to hit. Just going to be free target for those Blink Stalkers, but it looks like Oz knows exactly what his next target is. It's that fourth base.
Yeah, and you know what? In addition to 20 additional Zerglings coming out, there are so many out on the field right now. Is it going to be enough? I mean, these Blink Stalkers do have a motive, a stake. And here they do move forward, and he's going to have to give up that fourth yet again. Now, here we do see the Corruptors scouting this fourth going up for Oz, and what a great place for it to be, because it is cut off by this army of Oz, but if he loses this position, he loses that expansion. So I love using these Corruptors so as a scouting tool. Hive is done, Greater Spire on its way, might as well use them for something, as there's still one Colossus out and about.
Lot of pylons on this top side. Such an amazing decision from Oz to take this right expansion. His army that's constantly trying to deny this fourth is perfectly protecting his own fourth. So now we see Oz trying to blink around, make sure there's no counterattack, and this is a devastating blow for Su. He is going to lose so many Corruptors. 3 or 4 died in that mix, and now we see all the burrowed infestors are going to go down. The core of Su's army evaporating. If Su can take out this fourth base, might barely be able to equalize, but there are a lot of Zealots warping in. Su knows the desperate situation he's in. He needs to take it out. It's at half-life. Okay, now it's at half hull, and it's gonna stop at around 250 hit points, it looks like.
Yep.
Oh, man, this is terrible for Su.
Yep, and here Oz is in a position now. I mean, the Broodlords, they could come out soon, and actually he does have a bank for a bit, but the morph time, I don't think that we're gonna get that time coming out by Oz. I mean, Oz going in for the attack. There, the Zerglings, good fungals, but the Colossus does go down. There are so many Zealots here as well. I mean, does he have energy for some good fungal? Oh yeah, great fungal going down on top of those Zealots.
Readjusting, not throwing down tons of infested Terrans on the ramp, trying to conserve a little bit of energy for those fungals. Corruptors are in high enough number to remove that Colossus, but the gateway unit count is absurd. And at this point in time, how can Su replenish with enough units? He's gone back to making only roaches. Does he go for the fourth base himself? Does he try to cut off reinforcements? He's just surrounded himself, moving up onto this high ground. Stalkers with Blink, +3 attack on all of Oz's units. This is just a done deal. Oz looks like he's going to be able to barely take a win in game number 5.
Yeah, and Oz, of course, does have that base up in the northeast as well. So, yeah, I mean, how do you attack that right now? I mean, honestly, it's so tough. He's got Zealots that are just dismantling this third. So, I mean, we see Su on a ragtag economy right here. The Broodlords are out, but God, can he even protect the Broodlords from anything? I don't think so.
This is always the worst feeling I think you can ever have as a Zerg player, is when you have a bunch of Broodlords and Infestors in an entrenched position and no bases. You're just defending your defenses is what you're doing at that point. And this is kind of an interesting thing to note in Oz's position. He has just now started a Stargate and just now started Templar Archives. He, in fact, was never going to be going for late game. He was never going to be going for Motherships or Templar. He was trying to win in the mid game every single time aggressively.
I mean, right now, I feel like Su's just looking through any possible options that he has left, and there's not that many. I mean, right now, the Broodlord count is sitting at about 6. I mean, God, I suppose, like, can he make any sort of a push? I mean, he would have to have just remarkable fungals, but one blink forward, and it's going to be all done. So, I don't know.
Su's trying to sneak out with small sets of units. At this point in time, he wants to conserve his gas and make sure that he's making just Broodlords with those funds, the most efficient unit he can make with his limited resources. And now as Oz is getting up the money Stalker Archon mixture. Uh-oh, blinking up, targeting anything he can. A couple of Stalkers blink under the Broodlords and begin to work their way down. All the ground units, all the Broodlings evaporating. A Transfuse goes down on a couple of Broodlords. It ain't gonna be enough. Archon's desperately trying to get to the front lines, and they deal a massive 47 damage plus splash per shot. GG.
GG.
It is not going to be a shutout. It is not going to be a 4-0 or 4-1. Oz is starting to make that climb away from the Lava Sharks.
Yeah, additionally, keep in mind, like, this 25-minute game started with a 6 pool.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like, you know, that was the free pass that Su had. You know, now he's only got that 1 game advantage. It's still there. He's still one step closer to $10,000, but he's got to resort back to what we saw in games 1, 2, and 3. And Oz has to be able to, you know, change his game up dynamically to match that. So, game 6 coming up here shortly. Any final thoughts on that game?
I mean, in my eyes, I think that even though Oz has won games 4 and 5 to put himself on the map, Oz needs to calm down, focus on a longer-term play, and stop dumping so much into that mid-game attack, because clearly Sue always seems to have an answer. The way he was able to tip the balance here is by having just a little bit more patience. So don't go anywhere. Game number 6, still match point, coming up right after this.